Whether you're working from home or going into the office, what do you do if you're dealing with a job you hate? How's it going, Reinventors? I'm Amelia. This is Reinventing You, the channel where you can be inspired to take your own reinventing journey so that you can live a life of joy, fulfillment, and purpose. I post twice a week. I'm glad you're here, and I always appreciate suggestions for future videos. This is one of those. If you have not subscribed, please do so at this time, and don't forget to give me a thumbs up on this video. Dealing with a job you hate. I had one of my subscribers recently ask me, Amelia, how do you deal with a job that you hate? 2 years ago, I realized I had a job that I was no longer in love with. And it was the ministry. I was a pastor, and I don't know if I could say I hated my job, but it was really close to it. And I've had other jobs in the past where I have hated what I'm doing. So I am coming from my own personal perspective. I'm not in human resources. I'm not in like job hunters. I'm not anything like that. I'm just coming from my perspective. Now, from my experience, there are 3 things that you can do to deal with a job that you hate. Those 3 things are, number 1, exit strategy, number 2, support, number 3, self-care. And if you stick around to the very end of the video, I've got a 4th bonus way that I wish I had incorporated into my own experience, but did not. But looking back, I think it would have helped me greatly. So let's unpack these, shall we? Okay, now the first thing is exit strategy. And I want you to hear me say this. Amelia is not telling you to quit your job. Okay, just repeat after me. Amelia is not telling me to quit my job. What I mean by exit strategy, there are lots of ways that you can have an exit strategy. Sure, quitting your job is one of them. Retiring early or just retiring because it's time. All of those things are things that you can do. However, there are other ways to exit what you're doing. You can move laterally, maybe within the same company. You can get a promotion. You can be demoted. Now, I know that sounds like, wait, why would I want to be demoted? I happen to know a friend of my mother-in-law's, this was years ago. She was a social worker, but she was like the head of the social workers. I guess she was like a managing social worker, and her husband got transferred. She moved with him, was looking for a job, and decided she really missed actually being a social worker rather than the manager. So she ended up taking a job as a social worker, and the person who interviewed said, are you sure you want to do this? Because you were a manager. But she said, I really want to work with people and not work with the staff. So getting a demotion can be a way to exit. Also, think about what are the things that you need to do to improve where you are. Especially with this kind of coronavirus quarantine, stay at home times where a lot of us are working from home or working from home more. I know I, for one, have learned a whole lot about Shopify because I have a part-time job, which I love, by the way. But I have learned a lot about Shopify because I'm working on the online portion of the business, and I have learned so much. It's been a learning curve for me. So maybe there are things that you have learned or you need to learn that have to do with working remotely. Maybe you've been putting off some things. Maybe there's trainings that you can take advantage of. When I learn about Shopify, do you know where I go? I come here to YouTube and I find out videos. So exit strategy is not just, quitting your job. It is trying to find ways to improve where you are. It's learning new skills. It is maybe getting a lateral move, or you could move across the country, or maybe another city, another place where you can fit in, that you have the skills necessary that you're able to do that. A lot of companies have message boards where they show all the jobs that are available. Start looking at those. Start thinking about, okay, if I'm going to have some kind of move within the company, what are the skills that I need to learn, and how can I get those skills? Find out, maybe your company offers them, or maybe there's a way through your company to take advantage of trainings. And like I said, there's lots of things on the internet to help you out as well. One of the things I also suggest is, no matter what your job, you need to work on your resume. You need to sit down and look and list out all your jobs, your training, your education, all of those things, your experiences. Look on YouTube, find places where they suggest here are the things you can do to improve your performance, or if you have a job interview, these are the kind of questions you're going to get, and start practicing, thinking about what are your talents, what are your abilities that you could bring to any company, anywhere. All of those things are part of exit strategy, and they also kind of help you to not focus on what's right in front of you that you can't stand. That kind of gives you a little bit of a distance. Find those things. It really will help your mood incredibly. And that's something that I did when I was leaving the ministry. I was looking forward to reinventing myself, and I knew that I was retiring early. We're going to take a little bit of trip and go out on the porch, but while I'm moving this around, and the camera is not going to cooperate, I can tell, there we go. While I'm moving this around, I have a question for you. My question for you is, if you've ever been in a job that you hated, what did you do? What was your strategy? How did you deal with going to work every day? One of the things that somebody said that they deal with it is that they listen to music while they're working, and it really helps to pass the time, and I think that's a great idea. So what are some things that you would suggest in the comments below? If you would put that, and I will know what other tips and tricks if you are in a job that you hate. Okay, so the second strategy when you're dealing with a job that you hate is to get support. And one of the things you have to be very careful is that you're not coming home every day and spewing to your significant other or your family or your neighbor, whoever it is, across the yard, because that does get old. If you are in a job where you think you have somebody that you can talk to, a coworker or somebody, just be very careful, because sometimes in jobs, people are more backstabbing than anything, and especially if you are learning a new skill that somebody else, like your supervisor, is kind of the person who does it, and they may think, oh, they're coming from my job. So just be very careful in terms of support at work. So when I say support, I recommend support in terms of outside of work, maybe not exactly your family. So find somebody, either a friend that is going to listen and not judge, listen and give you good advice, or maybe not even any advice. Maybe sometimes when you need support, you need just somebody to listen. Oh, hang on, I gotta let the dog out. So when I say support, you may also want to have a professional, whether it's a counselor or a coach. Try to find professional support if you can't afford it, or if it's possible through your employer. Now, I do know that there are some employers, if you go to see a counselor, a psychiatrist, or psychologist, sometimes that counts against you. You put on your report, or it's not always private. So find out before you do that, because you don't want something that's supposed to help you to hurt you down the road. One time I had an issue that I was dealing with, and I got good acquaintance, not somebody close to me. It was somebody who lived across the country, and she and I had several conversations, and it was very helpful because she was a listening ear, and she was gave some wisdom to the situation, but she wasn't part of it. She wasn't here in the state that I was. She was not part of my particular corner of my denomination. It was really helpful to have that listening ear. So if you have somebody like that, that is excellent. But you also do need the support of family and friends. So even while you're getting the professional support, make sure you're telling them, you don't have to come home and just spew everything, but just say, I really hate my job, and these are the 3 reasons, or whatever, and here's my exit strategy right now. This is what I'm doing to deal with it. And then don't go overboard with it, because a lot of times people close to you may just tune you out after a while. If you have that other support, a professional or somebody who is a good friend or good acquaintance that can listen and be a sounding board, sometimes that is what you need to prevent your family from becoming burned out along with you. The third part of this is self-care. And when I say self-care, I'm talking about physical, mental, spiritual, what you do to take care of yourself. And this is basically really nothing to do with your job, but it really can help. Now, I hate sitting here drinking caffeine, but one of the things that you can do is limit your intake of caffeine, sugar, and alcohol. Those are three big ones that can really be detrimental. Now, I'm not saying cut everything out, but definitely cut back. And if you can cut them all out, it really will help you. It'll give you some clarity. If you know how to detox your body, this is a good thing to do as well, especially in this stressful time. If you find yourself not getting enough exercise or not getting enough sleep, those are other things that you need to do to help yourself. If you are a person who is spiritual and you can pray or meditate, those help. If there's another way to relax that you have, maybe it's watching YouTube videos, maybe it's knitting, whatever it is, find a way to relax. And also find a way to give back. Whether you're giving back to a cause that's helping racial justice, or helping feed the hungry, or helping in COVID-19 cases, people who don't have enough money for rent. Whatever you can do, find ways to take care of yourself, and that includes mental, spiritual, and physical. And going along with self-care, make sure you take some days off. I know as a pastor that is very hard to do. I know that in these days of staying at home more, my husband, who is a pastor, has a really hard time turning it off and not working, because there's no line between, at work, at the hospital, at the church, and at home. It's all pretty much at home. So it's very hard to turn that off. I don't know what your job is, but make sure you take some time off, even if it's just one day a week, a day that you're not worried about, you're not thinking about, you're not focusing on work. Don't check work emails. Do not check your work text or phone. If you have to turn things off, that's okay too. If somebody asks, well, why didn't you respond to my phone call last night? Just say, Sunday's my day off. I knew I could get to it on Monday. So I promised you something at the end of this video that I wish I had done, and that is to have gratitude. One of the things that the person who requested this subject for a video said that they write a lot in their journal. And so one of the things that I wish I had done was to start a gratitude journal. Be grateful for things at work, even if it's a job you hate. Be grateful for things that you have. Hey, be grateful for having a job. There are a lot of unemployed folks right now. Being grateful can really help your attitude. It can really give you a fresh perspective. It can help you deal with a job that you hate. If this has been a helpful video for you, please give me a thumbs up. And I'm always looking for videos ideas. So in the comments below, if you haven't already, please leave me a comment and let me know if there's a video subject that you would like me to cover in the future. I'm Amelia. This is Reinventing You. Have a great one.